Some claim that the age of a true gentleman is far behind us, but here at 284 Media, we disagree. He may appear in different guises today, but the values and ideals that make him a gent still stand. Gentlemen, aspiring gentlemen, and of course, our partners that hold us down. Welcome back to Season 6 of The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman, a show that is poised to help guide modern-day men into 21st century distinguished gentlemen. Not all about suits and bow ties, but instead, real-life lessons that truly translate to grounded, community-minded, well-rounded men. We are at the final episode of Season 6, and I'm so honored. This perhaps is, don't want to be biased, but perhaps one of my most enjoyable guests. I know him quite well, and I'd like to think that he knows me best as well. He is an author, a consummate professional. My one and only brother, Rick S. Grant, is gracing us today and The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman. We're going to talk about his catalog of work, of course, and additionally, additional projects that he might have in the pipeline. It is a conversation you really, really don't want to miss. I'm chopping it up with my brother. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
Gentlemen, it's time to discover That Guy Experience. We are a product line specifically catering to the men with beards. Our products are 100% natural and handmade right here in the BVI. Butters, oils, and cleansing products, all designed to add softeners, shine, and growth to your beard and hair. Visit us at Meraki Hair Clinic or thatguybvi.com and begin your journey as that guy. We are a life-changing experience. That Guy Hair and Beard Products.
Orange alert! Orange alert!
Fire is spreading across the BVI. The fastest, most reliable, and affordable fiber internet service is here for you. Look out for Fire in these new locations: Slaney, Duff Bottom, Manual Reef, Seacows Bay, Albion, Hannah's, Palestina, Pleasant Valley, and Havers. Fiber is in your area. Call 444-4444 or visit a CCT store to find out more and bring it home. More locations coming soon.
Welcome back, everyone, and thank you so much for sticking with us. As promised, we are in the final episode of Season 6. That simply means that since we started The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman, we have recorded 72 episodes. And I'm completing this season, Season 6, with the one and only Rick S. Grant. My brother, welcome to The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman. Thank you for finally being here.
Thank you for finally inviting me. I appreciate it.
All right.
Cheers.
So, in putting together the catalog of candidates and persons that would contribute to this conversation, while I was putting Season 6 together, somebody called me and they said, I don't know if you're avoiding the conversation or avoiding having your brother on the show, but I think it would be a great episode. And I said to them, I'm not avoiding it at all. And then I said, yeah, okay, let's do it. And that's when I called you and invited you over to Tortola to be a part of this conversation. As I mentioned, you are perhaps one of the persons that know me best, and likewise. Tell us about the journey and evolution of who we know as Rick S. Grant, and why you insist on having SS.
Well, first of all, congratulations on what I think is, and again, I could be biased, but a really remarkable body of work and process. And thank you to the person that finally asked why. I really appreciate that. The evolution of Rick S. Grant, and the S stands for Serrano Spencer. And I'm very proud of both names because my grandmother, at the time when she was living in Puerto Rico, sent back via telegram or mail the name Serrano. And then my mother blessed me with my father's first name, which is Spencer. So that's the whole body of who I am. And that's who I am. I am Rick Serrano Spencer Grant. I am my mother's and father's children, or child rather, and I'm my grandparents' offspring. And I'm just and I consider myself a gift to this world in everything that I do. That's what I aim to be, truly a gift to this world. And then the evolution of who I have known myself to be has it's ever evolving. Like every single day, I learn something new about myself. I learn something about my place in this world. I learn something about the people around me and how we interact. So it's been a journey. I made 40 last year, and I never imagined what 40 would look like. But I'm actually enjoying what 40 looks like. I've evolved in body, in weight. Some people remember me as the slim, skinny guy that ran for Mr. Fifth Form back in 2001.
You definitely gained weight.
I have definitely gained some weight. But and funny enough, I've gained weight all around, as in mentally, physically, emotionally. I've dropped some weight, both mentally, physically, and emotionally. So I'm enjoying the evolution of life that is my life.
Amazing. One of the things that you have always said, and for those persons who may have you on social media, you're very proud of your heritage, from whence you come. And correct me if I'm wrong, you would say St. Kitts made me, what is the description that you use?
So it's St. Kitts created me, the BVI molded me, the USVI made me a man.
Gotcha.
And that's been the span of my life, because as I said, I was born in St. Kitts. Our parents moved here when I think I was 2, and the BVI was my home. I remember everything about the BVI. So there's Sage Mountain. I remember going on trips to Anegada. So that was the place that made me and molded me. And then I moved to St. Thomas for school and just never left. And I just realized it's been like 20 years since I've been living in the Virgin Islands. I have lived in St. Croix, I've lived in St. Thomas. My goal is actually to live in St. John, so I can say I've lived in all of the Virgin Islands.
Okay.
So I'm really proud of that. And that's part of my evolution also, being born, lived, and living in someplace else.
Well, you mentioned celebrating your 40th birthday, and of course being pleased and happy to be alive and well to enjoy that milestone. What would you say has been your biggest takeaway or biggest lesson to date?
My biggest lesson to date, wow. So I'm gonna die once, so I should live every day.
Okay.
It's how I look at life. People always say, oh, you only live once. Actually, you're only gonna die once. So you should live every single day that you wake up. Try to contribute to yourself first, and then contribute to others around you, and just make a positive influence on every single person that you meet, whether it's in the grocery store, at the gas station. So that's really my mantra. Yeah.
In being a gift, like you so eloquently described, is there anything that keeps you up at night? When you look across your community, whether it be St. Kitts, the BVI, or the U.S. Virgin Islands, is there anything that concerns Rick Grant?
What keeps me up at night most times, and I sleep very well, by the way, when it does keep me up, is I think that as a people, we don't understand the power that our words have, right? So when we sit and we talk, and we should talk about what's happening in our community, right? But also know that how we talk about what's happening in our community affects our community. So it affects the perception of outsiders on our island. It affects the perception of people living in our islands, about our islands and about ourselves. And I know we all have an opinion, and we should have an opinion, but sometimes that keeps me up at night when I scroll and I see people just sharing every single thing, and some things you just don't need to share. And I've learned that lesson also. There's some things you keep to yourself, some things you share with your inner circle, your family, and some things you just share with Facebook, for example. But I think it's the perception and the words that we use about what is our territory, our country, our island, like I grew up in Bargos Bay, or our section of our community. That keeps me up sometimes.
The fact that essentially, in many cases, we contribute to the negative narrative of whether it be corruption, bad infrastructure, third world country mentality.
And those things exist, okay? But know that we have a power and a part to play in the perception of others and our country.
Gotcha.
And our island and us. And I think that we could be a lot more careful with the power of those words if we understood what they do to us.
Understood. Now, you have an extensive body of work, 4 books, am I correct?
Correct, yes.
4 children's books, and you have them in 3 languages, am I correct?
Yes, I'm an author of 4 children's books. When I Grew Up is the title of the first one. Where I Live is the second one. Health and Safety for You and Me, and recently When Storm Winds Blow. And then what I did a couple months ago was I sat down, I had translated the original versions into English and Spanish. And that was important to me, especially the translations, because you want children in their native tongue to be able to learn in their native tongue. And I understand that we are in a Caribbean island where English is prominent as the main language, but I think it's good representation and allowing children to not only see themselves in a book, but also be able to read themselves in a book, if that were to make sense.
So the books are available in 3 different languages.
Yes.
English, Spanish, and French.
Haitian Creole, yes.
Haitian Creole. Wonderful. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So I have a little surprise for you. I did a little bit of research
Okay.
and, scrolling through the albums.
Okay.
And I found this photo. And when I investigated with Mom, what it was about, she said that there was a writing competition or book competition
Okay.
at Altus Gatliff.
Mhm.
And this photo, I'm not sure if the camera could see it, but this is your work. Do
Oh.
you remember that?
I do remember this. So back in elementary school, at the Scatliff, the Mighty Scatliff, we would have like a display of artwork or almost like a fair in the cultural center. And this year, I think I was like 6 because you weren't born yet, and Mom was actually pregnant with you, and I was hell bent on having a sister. So Sabrina was gonna be her name. So I wrote this picture board, and I think this is Sabrina wears a gold ring. She is wearing a beautiful dress. Her shoes have high heels. Sabrina is happy, Rick Grant. So this was actually my first written
Wow. Nice.
piece of work. Clearly, I didn't get the sister.
So you can hold on to that.
Thank
you
you.
can have that. I wanna go back there.
Okay.
I wanna go back to this moment in Altus Gatliff. I don't know if you remember what grade it was, but obviously you were a little boy.
Mhm.
So let's go back to that little boy in the sense of having a creative process and, of course, telling a story that would now lead us to the grown man, but the highly acclaimed author.
Okay.
How were you introduced to writing? If you put yourself back at that age.
So for as long as I've known myself, I always liked creative writing.
Okay.
That whole process. I remember, I don't know if you remember, but so in our house, there was the Encyclopedia Britannicas.
Correct.
Those
Yes.
red books.
Yes.
And
Very big.
those books were
books,
actually black and white.
Mhm.
There was no color, there was no representation, but that's where you went to get research, right? And I also remember the library used to give this pamphlet with books, like on a Friday you would order books and it would come
Okay.
back in 2 weeks. That was my second introduction to the world of reading and literature. And I didn't know it then, but I know it now. I didn't see myself in any of those books because
Okay.
again, they were literally Encyclopedia Britannica was black and white, except for the red cover. And then when you saw the books, you saw like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs as books you would order. But then it was I think her name was, I know her name, Miss Vansitat Huggins, who was my teacher at the time, and I think her and I spoke about this a couple of years ago. She reminded me that I said I was going to be an author.
Wow.
And I think she had a book that I had written, then the hurricane kind of took it, and she was devastated. But she remembered me vividly saying that I wanted to be an author. So I've always loved writing. I
Interesting.
remember in high school, I would English class, I loved to write comfort stories and stuff. So it's always been a thing. And clearly, it was what I was meant to do.
I want to talk about that. What you were meant to do.
Mhm.
Passion, purpose. Persons might be looking at this interview and wondering perhaps, well, I want to write. Well, how can I get to that level? What would you say to the young upcoming young man who's looking at you and admiring but still seeking to manifest within his own self any dreams or aspirations, but is apprehensive? Additionally, not only apprehensive, but maybe told that pick something else.
Got it.
That's not the way. Pick a lawyer, a doctor. What do you say to that young man?
So I'll start with that. And when I say that, I mean, ask yourself why. Like, what's your why, right? And once you identify your why, it guides you. Recently, I did a leadership training, and the presenter was asking us what is our why, and we all worked through it. And my why is that I inspire imagination to identify potential. So anything I do, my goal is to inspire others to tap into their self, to be able to identify their potential and go with it. So even in writing, I'm helping a child to see with the first book, they could be a lawyer, teacher, doctor, anything, an athlete, right? You're exposing them to other places in the world. So you're opening their imagination. So when you think about your why, who are you trying to reach? When you leave this earth and people remember how you made them feel, what did you do and what was that why? So for that person that is interested in exploring their why, start with that. Why do I want to do this? How does this make me feel? Writing makes me feel like I get excited. People always ask me if I would ever do camera, and I tell them, I write, you record.
Okay.
This I can't do.
You're doing well so far.
Thank you. And I could interview you, right? But to do this every single day, it wouldn't be me. I wouldn't be happy.
Understood.
But when I sit and I put pen to paper and I take it from inspiration to ink is what I call it, I feel good in the process. And then when I see the product, I'm even more satisfied.
Amazing. There is so much that has been thrown at us as a people, but more so when we look at men and the fact that, we don't like going to the doctor, we don't necessarily take care of our mental health. When you look at the entire being of the man, the provider, when it's all said and done, what would you, or how would you like to be remembered?
How would I like to be remembered? As a person that made people laugh, as a person that challenged people's way of thinking, as an individual who thoroughly enjoyed the span of life that he was granted, as an individual that made people feel good. I had this running joke with my friends that I'm going to have 3 phases of my eulogy. I'm going to have a family person, I'm going to have a professional person, I'm going to have Rick the friend, because that is encompassing of who I am. And I just want people I want to be remembered, first of all, remembered, and then remembered for how I made people feel. And I would hope that it was good.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right. Well, viewers, we are here with the one and only Rick S.S. Grant. We are in the final episode of season 6. We're going to take a quick commercial break and chop it up with our sponsors and then come back. We'll be right back. Welcome back, viewers, and thank you so much for sticking with us. I am having a much needed conversation with my dear brother, older brother. No, we are not twins. He is not. 6 years older than me. And having this opportunity to sit with you and glean once again from your wisdom is an opportunity that I don't take for granted. We all have what we call role models. For me, I don't necessarily have a specific individual. I have bits and pieces of various individuals in my life that I would take from, and you are definitely on that list. I've known you all my life. You've sought to protect me all my life, and always wanting the best for me. So I appreciate you, and I thank you so much for that. In speaking of role models, in early of this year, 2024, January of this year, we both lost the last of our paternal grandparents, that in our grandmother. Prior to that, obviously, we would have lost grandparents on our father's side, as well as grandfather on mother's side. You've always had an amazing relationship with all of them, the 3 that we were able to know. Okay, we didn't know our mother's father. I want to talk about that relationship and the fact that no matter what was going on, no matter what ailments they had or challenges they had, you always seemed to be able to exercise the most patience and compassion Tell me about that relationship with all of them and what it meant.
Okay. So I'll talk about the patience part. So once I came out of high school, most people might not know, but I taught at First Impressions for 3 years. I was a kindergarten teacher, and I loved it.
Okay.
But truth be told, it didn't pay. As in education in general, the teachers
Correct.
didn't pay. So I kind of pivoted. But I always had patience for children and elderly people, because those are the two people that rely most heavily on you. Okay. Now, the people in between, they think they know it all, right? So I never had patience for you young adults. But the relationship with our grandparents for me was always a special one because, and as you know, every summer and Christmas we traveled to visit them, and they became my escape. Not that life was bad, but I saw a different, I saw life through a different lens. In visiting them, and they cared for us. I remember whether it was Sunday school, whether it was granddad coming home with sweets in the bag, whether it was granny taking me down to learn how to catch the bus in St. Kitts, or whether it was other grandmother pulling a goat once we arrived, cutting it throat, cleaning it,
Skinning a goat for goat
and
water.
we had goat water. So it was the level of care that they poured into me as a child growing, that I was truly honored to be able to pour back into them, whether it's just asking them how they were doing, whether it was just calling them, whether it was just checking, whether it was just randomly showing up. And not necessarily having long conversations, but just letting them know that they were remembered. I know we talked about earlier what I want to be remembered. I had to let them know that I remembered them. So it was always a very good time just to be around them.
Beautiful, beautiful. In that relationship, is there anything that you learned from any of them that you continue to hold on to?
Definitely. All of them taught me care and compassion for humanity, always looking out for someone else. Periodically, what I do is when I go to the grocery store, and I kind of lean on the spirit realm to guide me in this. I know we're going to talk about church and we talk about tithing, but sometimes I tithe differently, right? So like when I go to the grocery store, it's happened a few times where I'll be in the line and maybe you see an older person put something back, or you just feel compelled to pay for their groceries. That's what they taught me, just a level of care and compassion for humanity. Older people, yes, but just for humanity in general. So it's almost like treat people how you want to be treated.
Understood.
And
Understood.
that's one of the lessons I learned from them.
Who would you say have been some persons, male examples particularly, that have contributed to the distinguished gentleman that we see before us?
So definitely my grandfather, Benjamin Grant, his level of care for his family, all his children, grandchildren, strangers,
All
right?
10 of his children.
All 10 of his children. Just his level of, as I said before, pouring into them. That was one for me. And then, of course, our dad, him mirroring his father in working hard, providing, being a protector, being hard on us. And then, funny enough, Omar Hodge,
Yes.
the 6th district representative,
Lovely example.
in the BVI. I remember as a child, like just being enamored with the towering gentleman, and I would hold my breath when he passed, because it was like I couldn't breathe the same air that this distinguished gentleman was breathing. So he was one of, if you want to talk about like a political figure or somebody in the public sphere that I saw that I was really thankful for and grateful for, because he's really the reason why I was able to stay in the BVI, truth be told. And then just knowing that story and then seeing him and how he maneuvered through the community, he was definitely one locally for me.
Definitely. I love the fact that you mentioned the late Omar Hodge. By far one of my favorite politicians to date. I understand that because of his level of maneuvering through the community. There are perhaps so many things that we could be doing with our lives, but you have chosen to do that through writing. I want to talk about the other side of your professional career. What do you do as a professional?
Okay, so I am currently in disaster recovery in St. Thomas. So I am the strategic advisor for the Virgin Islands Housing Finance Authority, and we are responsible for managing disaster recovery funds and helping the whole rebuild process. Prior to that, I was at the Virgin Islands Department of Education. Prior to that, I was at a private company. So I've been in government and private sector with regards to human resources and just the management of the organization. So I'm really an organizational leader. I think there's so much that we can be doing with our human capital and then with our organizations that I have just delved right into that world.
Is there someone that has contributed to your life that is no longer with us, that you definitely leaned on or appreciated? And who are those people, or who is that person, if you could name them, and what did they mean to you?
Oh, wow. Okay. So when I went to UVI, I met one of my first days, I encountered Miss Junie Violenis, and she was the advisor for student activities. And she eventually called me the general throughout our time, and she passed away. But she was a driving force in me staying focused in college and really tapping into all that was my potential. So I really am grateful for that interaction and meeting her. So she was definitely one person that I say would have kept me on track.
Nice, beautiful. One of the things that I love about you, and I appreciate it, apart from your level of articulation and presence, as in dressing, you are very well traveled. You definitely, you work hard, and that is one of the ways you seem to enjoy it. Tell us about perhaps one of your most memorable trips.
So this is a shameless plug, but every year I travel with the University of the Virgin Islands on a UVI Passport to the World program. This is actually my 7th year doing it. So I've gone to South Africa, Peru, Spain and Morocco. Last year we went to Egypt, and this year, like maybe in a week or so, we are going to Kenya. Prior to that, we went on a trip to Amsterdam.
Correct, yes.
And I got that love of traveling from our parents, obviously, because our mother had a thing where if she couldn't take her children, as you know, she wasn't going. So my father would always plan summer vacations and stuff. So I got that from there. So my favorite, wow, I don't have a favorite. Each one is really unique in the experience. Egypt was awesome. I'm looking forward to Kenya. Peru was really beautiful, climbing up the main ruins. I don't have a favorite. I really enjoyed when we went to Amsterdam because we went as a family with our friends and our cousins. So that was like a family trip. So I really enjoyed Amsterdam, yeah.
What would you say to parents, or not only parents, but just persons in general, in using traveling as an opportunity to really, really see the world?
So it's funny that you said traveling, because I remember also on Sundays, Mom used to give Dad a rest by taking us driving, right? So you don't necessarily have to travel, because our traveling started by driving from Bargers Bay to West End, then driving from Bargers Bay to East End. And then it was, okay, we did that, then we'll go to Anegada. So I would say build on the level of experience that you're offering your children or your godchildren or your nieces and nephews. Like, just expose them, and gradually, and then eventually take them on a trip, because it really opens their mind, honestly. Like, literally, it's like a book, right? It's like a walking experience book where they get to see other cultures, they get to face their fears, they get to taste other cuisines and just interact with people. Because every time I travel, I try to do something, or I do something that's outside of my comfort zone, like whether it's jet skiing, whether it's trying. I know when I went to South Africa, I ate worms, like they had worms. So it was always, and it's always that moment where you thrust yourself into something that you don't know when you experience it, and you did it. It's like, okay, I did it. So give children that experience, whether it's through books or through travel. And travel, again, is like just taking them someplace where it's outside of their 9 to 5.
Understood. What would you say is next for Rick?
Writing. I'm going to keep writing. I have 2 more books that I want to write. There's a book I want to write about the holidays in the Virgin Islands, like why we celebrate the various holidays, but for children, so they understand, okay, yeah, we have Whit Monday, but what is Whit Monday? Like, what's the importance of it? And then I want to do the affirmation alphabet. And that's really affirming children through the alphabet. So A is for awesome, like just giving them that go-to to reinforce their level of humanity and what they will bring to the world. So those are my next 2 big projects that
Love it.
I want to just throw into the universe.
Well, because I know you personally, I know that you are an island boy at heart.
To the bone.
You love the islands, whether it's St. Kitts, whatever. You love the Caribbean.
Mhm.
What would you say is your favorite Virgin Islands cuisine?
Oh, my favorite Virgin. I'm an oxtail kind of guy.
Okay.
I love fried fish. I grew up on fish and mayonnaise sauce, but give me oxtail and roast pork any day.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have a favorite Virgin Islands island, sister island?
Oh,
And this is, I'm giving you an opportunity. It could be BVI or USVI.
Mhm.
Any island that you really, really enjoyed or is
Oh.
dear to your heart.
no. Well, no. I think no.
Okay.
There's not one. As collective, the Virgin Islands in itself is really special to me.
Okay.
For all of the experiences I've had, I can remember things on each island. So just the Virgin Islands as a whole is really, really dear to me.
All right. Virgin Islands, your favorite Virgin Islands drink. It could be alcoholic or non-alcoholic.
Oh, I'm a lemonade kind of guy.
Okay. Okay.
Squeeze them lime. Yeah.
If you could take someone from Virgin Islands yesteryear who's no longer with us, who would that person be and why? To lunch or dinner?
I would actually take Omahaj to lunch.
I knew you were gonna say that.
And I would tell him thank you. He would not know what I'm telling him thank you for,
Mhm,
but I would
mhm.
give him the perspective of I just wanted to be able to sit and treat you to lunch and tell you thank you.
Beautiful. Well, I want to take this opportunity, and one of the things that I enjoy most about this platform is that I get to give flowers, and they're not literal flowers, but they're giving persons their recognition and their accolades. And out of all of my guests, I think you perhaps are the one that I am most proud of because I've obviously seen your journey. I know your journey. I understand the level of dedication and hard work that you put into everything that you do. So, not only for being an author and contributing to the positive narrative, your work, even when you're no longer here, your work will still be here and your legacy will still be here, but for being a remarkable example of a distinguished gentleman. You have poured into my life in, more ways that I could even begin. And I see that now even more when you pour into Kent, my son, and your nephew. So allow me this opportunity to publicly tell you just how much I love you and appreciate you and how proud I am of you, of all of the things that you continue to do. Continue leaving your footprint because there's some pretty big footprints. But yeah, just keep being amazing.
And I thank you for the opportunity to hear thank you.
Mhm.
I don't think we oftentimes allow people to hear thank you because when you're dead and gone, you can't hear it. So I thank you for the figurative flowers. I really appreciate them, and I really appreciate the platform and sharing the platform with you. So thank you.
You're most welcome. Viewers, you were hearing, of course, from our final guest in season 6. I want to thank you guys so very much for riding this journey with me, of course. As I mentioned, season 6 to date, we have sat down with 72 of the best and brightest young men of all ages, all different industries in the British Virgin Islands, USVI, and even in the USA. I am so immensely proud of the catalog of being able to present each and every one of these gentlemen because I think we don't do it enough. We don't present the best and brightest. It's always negative, and that has always been the reason for this platform. So I hope that you have enjoyed this season as much as I have, and I want to thank you so much for riding this journey with me. I appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate each and every guest that has been a part of this platform, and we'll see you next season. Take it easy.